Hey, let's start the show.
For Thursday, October 20th, 2016. Welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com. This is only a test. What I love about Jeremy, who's sitting next to me, or I'm introducing right now, doing the audio, is that it's a mystery every time which of the opening intros he'll play.
Yeah.
Is it the standard opening? Is it that more, maybe not more, but that lovely opening that we just heard? It's never the dubstep opening.
Because that's only for when certain guests is on the show.
Only for certain guests.
That song reminds me of the One Up music. Do you remember the One Up show?
I don't remember.
The One Up show was probably the greatest games video podcast of the early days of podcasts, if not ever. And it just had the best music.
Norm, what do you love about me?
I love your love.
No, I don't need to hear this.
Hey, that's Kishore, other co-host, joining us this week. And I'm, of course, Norm. Thank you guys for joining us all on this lovely, for us, a Wednesday as we record on this third week of October, 1 week before the third annual Tested live show. Getting that promotion out of the way early this week.
Like, not exactly, though, right? It's not a weekday.
It's not a weekday. It's next Saturday, but about a week. It's
Okay.
in my mind, it's essentially a week away
All right.
from that.
I'm really excited about the show, but I'm super stressed out because I'm doing a lot of like the producing and handling some of the production on the show.
Yeah.
It's shaping up really well.
As if running the show wasn't enough. I mean, you're actually going to be on stage.
You're leading two segments.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have to be in two segments.
Yeah.
As it came up in a production meeting the other day, I was like going through all these like different, technical details, and then somebody was like, "Aren't you in this show too?" I was like,
Aren't you?
"Oh,
Yes, you are.
I'm really excited about it because it's some of like my favorite tested projects and demonstrations from the past year. So I'm
And it's a
thrilled.
lot of stuff that we have never shown before that we've been saving for the show specifically. Just before we were recording this podcast, we were chatting with Adam about some of this, showing him some of the things we had prepared for the show, some cool things that we've done with technology. Without giving things away, he was very impressed.
I will say, if everything goes well, you will be able to participate in part of the show after the show is done.
Oh, whoa. That's
If everything goes
tantalizing.
well.
That's not an excuse not to go, though.
No, it's not an excuse not to go. It's only part of the show you get to participate.
That's right.
Tested has finally made a time machine.
That's right. We've broken all the laws of physics just for the live show.
So how have you guys been this past week?
Pretty good. Yeah, it's all relative. I feel busy, and then I talk to you guys.
I'm running a science festival that starts next week. The Tested show is part of it. And I am super stressed out because I have this thing that I run where like 80,000 people come to. And that starts in about a week. So
And we're like 1/80th of it.
Yeah, that's about the right ratio. Actually, that day of the Tested live show, I'm going to 5 events that day.
Wow.
My festival hosts, 12 that day.
Just in one day.
Just that day, there's
Okay.
12 different ones. And
Ours is the favorite one, right? Or your favorite?
Well, I have to be in that one.
Choose a favorite.
Yeah, that was my favorite. No, I mean, and they're all over the place. So my car is now a reflection of my stress level. Is like
The stuff you have left in your car?
Yeah, you see like empty Diet Coke cans just like crushed in like seat wells and stuff.
That was after that conference call.
Last time I saw your car, you had human brains in the trunk.
Yeah.
Also a reflection of a stress level.
Actually, my favorite event that we're doing during this entire festival. Sorry if this is too like promotionally, but this is the weirdest thing we're doing. We, those art events that like they take over like a wine bar and they like teach you how to paint, like recreate like masters.
Oh yeah, we've talked about those.
Yeah, so we are doing one that's a human organ painting night. So we're bringing like hearts and brains and models, and people can come like paint models of that along with scientists explaining them and art instructors and science illustrators. It is one of my favorite things I've ever done.
Oh, that sounds really cool. Like they're painting representations of those using, as opposed to live models, body parts.
Yeah, so we have like
Organs.
real human brains, but then there's also scientists on hand to, handle your curiosities, educate you, and art instructors to let you sort of unleash yourself. And the brain is a pile of gray goo, so it's not that exciting artistically, but people generated these incredible paintings the first time we did a pilot. And so we're asking like, what do you want to do next? And they're like, hearts. We want brains and hearts.
Wow.
So I'm really excited about that. I have a few of the paintings up in my office.
They don't want to do a phrenology thing?
No one did a phrenology, but a lot of people did like representations of what they think is in their own brain based off of like different regions the like neuroscientists would tell them about.
I learned
Prefrontal
about phrenology because it was the name of a Roots album.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and in fact, the cover of it is a diagram of phrenology.
I have a phrenology head in my house that's like in my office.
We've been looking for there are so many different versions of it. There's one that I've been looking for, and Danica's been looking for, that we can't find. We go to all these odd shops every time we visit different cities, and those are just some of those old vintage ones look fantastic, relics of a different medical age.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm hoping for an escape from all of my work obligations during the next couple hours, though, during this podcast.
Okay,
So
all right.
I've missed out on a lot of like pop culture. Anything come up in pop culture this week?
Let's jump right into it then. Now, this isn't strictly in the realm of popular culture when we think of movies, comic books, or TV shows, but it is in the public consciousness. This month, especially in the next 2-3 weeks, it is the election, of course. And while we are not a political podcast, we do three of us follow politics
And vote.
Very important.
I already voted.
Oh, I actually, I have the ballot that they get mailed to you. I filled it out. I'm going to bring it to the day of. I'm not mailing it in. I like bringing it to the
So you
polling
can get the
place
sticker.
so I can get the sticker. Yeah. But they also count your vote later,
They do.
but you get the sticker and it still counts and it's still important.
There is one thing I'm obsessed with in this politics like debacle. That's the only way I can describe it. It's because it is kind of a mess. I go to 538 every day to like look at their prediction models. I'm obsessed with all of these statistical models, and they have like a whole podcast on 538 that's just dedicated to talking about the statistical work that goes into generating their model.
So 538, for people who don't know, it's Nate Silver's website, run, I guess, owned by ESPN, under the ESPN umbrella. So they do sports and politics, and among other things, in popular culture, but from a statistical perspective, all statistical analysis.
Supposed to remove all bias.
Yes, and they are not always successful, and they've owned up to that fact. I think there are some blinders in terms of what they cover, but they try to be as objective as possible. And they Nate Silver gained fame in 2008, I guess it was 8 years ago, when his models helped predict using just statistics. He was accurate in predicting the election, not just the presidential election, but much of the congressional election as well.
Yeah, and what I love about Model Talk is he'll take questions from Twitter, like legitimate questions about questioning the model. Like there's different like mathematicians and economists that will write in and like question like certain weight he gives to elements, like certain why does he skew the polls this way? My favorite thing that they've been talking about doing is there are these instant polls like after debates, like where sites will host like who do you think won the debate, and they're obviously biased because like the who comes to those sites is very self-selecting. So Nate was talking about doing something fun with like the Drudge Report one, which is leans towards Trump obviously, and like unskew their instant polls. So like I feel like he is basically a math junkie this is like his time to shine. If you enjoy the math of politics, this is your time.
Do you think that his personal politics are revealed through the site or podcast?
They've had a few where that has definitely come through, especially after some of the more unfortunate aspects of this election, because they've been doing live shows where they've been doing live podcasts and their humanity comes out, where they express disappointment. And I think the clearest one is when there's been attacks against the idea of democracy, like how voting works and how polls work and how how we count and how fair things are. That's when you can really see them come to the front in that way.
And another interesting thing is I think a lot of people visit these sites and read polls, whether it's from 538 or whether they're watching television or whether local polls or national polls, and they don't understand. They too associate percentage with guarantees. Like if you see a poll and you see in a certain states a candidate is leading by 5% or at 55% chance of winning, it almost in their head feels like it's a guarantee win. Like that which is it's not. Like you have to read the statistics like what they actually are.
Plus, these are always in flux.
Yeah,
and every day there's a new graph.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Every couple hours.
I love it. I wish there was something else that ran through my life where I could visit a site for daily updates. I guess that's sports. Huh?
Sports, and that's why they do both sports and politics. And I think people do that. With the baseball playoffs going on right now, they're running these exact same statistical models on all sorts of obscure things, and it's really fun to dig into the stats.
Sports feels so much more random though than this stuff. I don't know. Maybe.
I think there's maybe with sports you have a greater awareness of the externalities and the factors that come in. And with politics, there's certain, and they do their best to explain what those factors are, but it's never very clear cut. Anyway, political talk over. Let's move to the movie talk.
Oh, are there any new movies or movie trailers that have come out?
Yeah, just before we started the podcast, James Gunn, director of Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy 2, just posted some first footage from the sequel. I believe coming next year. The trailer may already be out by now.
Mixtape Volume 2?
Mixtape. It's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, obviously. There's a poster, a teaser poster.
Obviously it's part of the title?
No.
Okay.
That would be amazing.
I think that's just part of the movie poster.
Did they give away any characters we haven't seen before?
Not in this footage I've seen. Although in the poster you can tell who's returning, and it's not just the main cast, the main Guardians of the Galaxy heroes. There are some of the villains returning that may be joining them. I don't know.
Oh, not joining them. No way.
Why not?
No. My question is, are we going to see Star-Lord's father?
In the trailer? No.
No, but in this movie.
Oh, yeah, of course. It's been confirmed and revealed.
Oh, it has it? They cast his father?
Yes.
Is his father a big deal?
Well, I think the direction they're taking with the movie, and I don't know if we want to move in the spoiler talk, but with the direction they're taking, I think they definitely cast an actor. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
The character I don't want to reveal, but we can talk about the actor.
Who is it?
I believe it's Kurt Russell.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, I know what character he's playing.
Yeah.
We can't talk about this, Jeremy.
Okay. Huh. All right.
No, because it's going to be like 2 hours of us trying to explain what this character.
No, that's good. I don't want that either.
And it's not even the character that's in the comics that's his father, but it's just like a comic book character that they brought in. That
I thought that he was just some kid who was abducted as a kid, right?
No, he's special.
He has an alien father.
Oh, okay.
And a human mother.
But that's not known in the first movie, right?
I will tell you, if you want to,
it is.
Do they allude to that?
They do at the very end of that movie.
Oh, okay.
If you want to come over, I have some of the original comic books where this character comes out, so we can have a whole reading, because I don't think I can actually explain that character without reading comic books.
The character who they have cast written as Star-Lord's father. I love that you just invited Jeremy over for a hangout after school. Come over to my place and read some comic books.
Are we going to get to see more Benicio del Toro?
I don't think so.
That was far too short in the first film.
He's going to be in more of these movies. Like, his character is a pretty pivotal character around some of the Infinity Stones. So he'll be back, and then there's a character in his collection that I think is going to emerge. That's going to be a pivotal character.
Yeah, it's a big deal for Guardians of the Galaxy 2 because it will at some point dovetail into Avengers, Infinity War. I guess they're not calling it Part 1 and 2 now. It's just Infinity War is the first one, and then the second movie is Untitled. And they're filming those back to back. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there's also Doctor Strange coming out this week. I still told you guys I'm not going to watch any more trailers, and that's not because I'm boycotting the movie. It's because I'm actually excited for the movie, and I know I'm going to watch it, and so I don't need to be teased.
Right on.
I'm pretty excited about that movie. Did you buy advance tickets already? Are you that excited?
I didn't buy advance tickets yet.
Is it on Rotten Tomatoes yet?
No.
Is it out that soon?
No. It's like 2 weeks.
Early
until
stuff.
it comes out.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? Okay.
Yeah. I'll buy tickets after the Tested live show.
Fair enough.
That's what I'll do. Yeah. And that one, the costume just looks fantastic.
Yeah.
I think it's perfect casting. I think it hit him as Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange is great. We can quibble about some of the other casting, but the overall cast, especially Chiwetel Ejiofor as Mordo, I think that's great.
Yeah. And I like Benedict Wong. There's 2 Benedicts in this movie. Benedict Wong as Wong. So that's the official Marvel Cinematic Universe. There is, of course, the other rights holders who have their own Marvel movies, Fox, and we did see
otherwise
some
known as
pictures.
the terrible Marvel movies.
For the most part. I think they may be a little misguided. There are 2 things coming out on the Fox side. There's the final Wolverine movie, which this is the one I say it every time. I'm going to be excited for. Wolverine Origins I thought was one of the worst comic book movies of all time, and I thought
Green Lantern probably worse, but yeah.
Yes, and the Wolverine, was that the last one?
Yes,
the Wolverine was. Why do people giving crap to Ben Affleck about the Batman when they had a movie that was the Wolverine?
Because the Wolverine. Actually, the Wolverine was fine.
The
movie
movie
was not bad. Did you see
title?
this, Jeremy?
No,
The
I
title's
haven't seen
fine.
any of these.
The movie was okay.
It was a huge disappointment. Also,
What is this one called? Wolva-Reen?
It's called Logan.
Oh dear Lord!
Just called Logan.
Yeah.
And it's James Mangold who directed, I believe, the last movie as well. And the photos look really stylized. It looks really noir.
What makes you think it's the final one?
Hugh Jackman said.
Hugh Jackman,
Yeah.
he's too old now. He can't play
Okay.
a mutant that never ages and never gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
It's been over almost 20 years. It will almost be 20 years since 1998 when the first... No, it was 2000.
No, 98 when the first X-Men movie came out, I think.
Are we sure about that?
So it's the last Hugh Jackman.
It's the
Wolverine
last
movie.
Hugh Jackman Wolverine movie.
Not necessarily the last Wolverine.
No, and I think they're definitely setting up some things in here for there to be a successor to the Wolverine character.
You're
Will
right,
not be.
2000.
Yeah, 2000. So it's been 16 years, which is a long time to play a character who supposedly never ages and is in peak physical condition.
These names for the Wolverine movies. What's next? Hey Bub. Is that going to be the next Wolverine
They'll
movie?
take something from the comics. Weapon X.
Yeah. Oh, there hasn't been. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good call.
see, there's plenty. There's a treasure trove of comic things. The writers have been working on it for decades.
All right. Enough of This Week in Marvel. We got to get Jeremy back in the show.
Okay. Let's go from sci-fi to westerns and sci-fi.
Yeehaw. Red Dead Redemption.
Red Dead Redemption 2.
So there was a teaser color released by Rockstar.
You call that a teaser where they just made their logo red?
Yep.
No, it was their logo across a red background.
Yeah. Some of us hoped it was the return of Rockstar Ping Pong.
Ping pong. Yeah, table tennis.
But it you would pull back and it would be a racket. But no,
Paddle.
It's Red Dead Redemption 2, which is going to make far more people happy. And that's
When's it coming out?
next year.
Oh, okay.
I think a year from now, like a long time,
wow.
a long time from now. But it is that is going to be a good game because the first one was phenomenal. The horse mechanics in that game, best of all time, and it's
and has not since been surpassed by the likes of Metal Gear Solid, MGS5.
not in my opinion. What?
Which had horseback riding. Battlefield 1 also has horseback
That,
riding.
I saw the Battlefield 1 stuff and people were raving about that. I don't think it's as good,
All right.
but the whole game is great. It's Grand Theft Pony. It's fantastic.
It is Grand Theft Auto.
Pony. It's an interesting time for that game to be announced, and obviously they've been working on it for a long time, but I got to bring it back to Westworld.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you guys have watched it since last week, since we gushed and talked about it last week.
I'm still
no.
just after. I have only watched episode 1.
I haven't watched it yet.
You got to watch it, Jeremy.
I will.
You got to watch it. It's so good. I think it may change the way you think about video games and Red Dead Redemption, the game, and Red Dead Redemption 2.
What?
I-
What do you
yes,
mean
it's
it
funny.
changes the way you approach video?
I was
games?
talking to Will yesterday, and he said all of his game designer buddies said exactly that they have a very unique perspective on this show
Yes.
from a game design standpoint.
Because the writers, the showrunners of the show, even though they're creating a fiction and it's not a video game, it's a narrative story over the course of a serialized story over X number of episodes
Yeah.
on TV. They in their background of writing the world that the story that Westworld exists in, they had to create these rules, and they looked to game design, video game design, very specifically in terms of crafting the concept of Westworld, a fictional amusement park, and also the player activities and the guest behavior. They looked at players
Because they're dealing with AIs?
because they're dealing with game narrative design. So the analog for Westworld and video games is that it's an RPG. It's a real world RPG. And the characters in the TV show have to design an amusement park with AI, with robots, as opposed to just NPCs that play out like NPCs and AI would in a video game and interact in an MMO sense.
But in a futuristic video
in a
game.
futuristic MMO, but they have the same rules. So I'm
Really?
gonna give you one example.
Okay.
And this I wouldn't constitute as a spoiler. One of the characters, you see the perspective in Westworld. One of the perspectives is from a guest entering the world, and they walk into the town, the main town of the world. And it's kind of like the main town of the video game when you first walk in, and as that guest is experiencing that world and being immersed in Westworld, the encounters they have feel natural but are scripted and are narratively driven by to engage them in quests, essentially.
Like triggered events. kinda.
Exactly. So like a bounty hunter will go up and say, "Want to come with me on a bounty hunt?" And then or they can bump into they can go into the saloon, they can drink at the bar and play some games there, or they can go off with the hookers it's a very adult themed show. But the interesting game design aspect is that it's an MMO. There are multiple guests who are in that Westworld, and the NPCs in that fictional world are designed to have their own stories that happen if the guests don't interact with them. But if the guests do interact with them, their stories have to dynamically change.
How much of this are you assuming or deducing?
I'm not assuming any of this. It's actually written out. There are flowcharts that have been released online from HBO to build up the fiction of Westworld.
Oh, wow.
To show how the story designers in that fiction have designed their AI.
Wow, so it's more of a video game, a game than a theme park.
Yes.
In that way.
Well, it's not a theme park in the sense that you're going there and seeing attractions and watching shows. It's going in a real world RPG.
Well, I think the original film approached it more as a theme park. They obviously didn't have video games to riff off of like that. That's really cool.
And so you got to watch because it ties directly into the story because you're like we've said before, a lot of the story is also in the perspective of the robots, the hosts, and to see their daily lives. So they have their cycles that they go on. Mm-hmm. They wake up, they have to go to action A, they have to have a conversation with another robot that's scripted, and then they go off and maybe they interact with a guest. But they have each of their days almost like a Groundhog Day. Get pivoted. That's all taken into consideration.
This sounds like the show is going to drive me insane. Like I'm going to be that crazy person with like strings on a board on the side, like tying together all like the themes,
welcome
like
to
conspiracy theory show.
Welcome to our Westworld.
Yeah, you'd fit right in there, I bet.
Yeah.
So is it? How many episodes in are you?
3 episodes in. The 4th episode airs this Sunday.
And it's maintaining a good
Oh yeah.
consistency.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Tell us what you think of Westworld
And
before Jeremy and I really dive in.
I mean, going back to why I brought it up, because we're talking about Red Dead Redemption 2, and I think playing video games, like the things that keep me immersed in RPGs and believable aren't just the missions, but how much life they put into the NPCs and AI characters you interact with.
Yeah.
Like some of the best parts of GTA are just watching people go about their lives in the world and realizing that someone at Rockstar design those things, and some of that was scripted explicitly, and some of that was just put into these behavioral algorithms.
Yeah, like emergent systems.
And seeing that trajectory of where these emergent systems can go.
Yeah.
In the context of a local game, something that's running on your computer, you just have gigs and gigs of data running off of your CPU, or something that may be running off a remote server. I don't think any MMO has had. MMOs are brought alive by the people who play it, not necessarily the things that they populate, because there's too much to populate. But eventually, we're going to get an MMO that will have all these emergent things. What if NPCs interact and do things while the players aren't there? Because if you don't need explicit action for NPC interaction for NPCs to behave, but you can observe from afar, then that keeps you immersed in that world.
Yeah, that's cool. And it is different, though, if you're actually present in the space, in the real world, like you are in the Westworld fiction.
Well, that's why VR.
Than if you're in VR.
Right.
Or, even World of Warcraft, where players are allowed to see something different.
Yeah.
Like, if I return a quest in World of Warcraft, the other players don't see me engaging with that NPC in the same way I do. But in Westworld, they would have to.
Exactly. There's... Oh, God, I don't want to spoil... There's one of the favorite scenes that fans have of this most recent episode, which is not plot essential, is that there's a band full of these robots, and they were scripted to go on this mission, to have a conversation around a campfire and go on this be part of that world, right? But one of the robots was missing, the one that was in charge of cutting the firewood and making the campfire. And so that robot being missing meant the other robots that were supposed to be part of that party were stuck in a narrative loop.
This is in the show?
In the show.
All right, I'm there.
Where they had to, for 3 days, talk themselves into why they weren't leaving.
Yeah.
And generically, well, it's not my job. I cut the campfire last time.
Yeah.
But programmatically, they weren't allowed to access the axe and cut the wood for the campfire.
I love it.
Yeah. You got to watch the show. All right. I'm going to jump down to MondoCon because we're getting too much into pop culture.
What's MondoCon?
MondoCon's an event that I've never been to and I wish I could go to. It's a convention. I want to say it's third year running now. MondoCon, run by the fine folks at the Alamo Draft House and Mondos. They do limited poster releases, official fan art, license from the studios, and this is their annual show in Austin where they bring up many of their artists, people that we know, some people we know like Ollie Moss and Kevin Tong, and some artists that we're big fans of, to reveal new work and to talk about their design process.
Haven't you been down there around the same time? You were like at South by Southwest and they had a presence there. Was that not this?
Yeah, it wasn't this.
Okay.
So South by Southwest has a spin-off show. Why am I forgetting its name now? That's also a poster show, but it's more about, and some of those people do crossover, and it's also in Austin, but that's all more about concert posters.
I remember some Disney stuff. You remember that?
Oh, that was at Mondo.
Yeah.
So Mondo is based in, they have a gallery in Austin.
Okay.
And they do regular shows. And so when we were at South by Southwest, we did stop by their gallery and buy some art there.
But it wasn't like a timed event. Okay.
That was that was an annual convention. This is a full-on convention.
Super cool. Are they still limited at this convention? Like, if I wanted to get that, there's an amazing Wally poster that
by Tom Whalen. Yeah.
Someone needs to help me procure because I love it.
You need a poster mule.
But are there only, say, 250 available at this event?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. People still have to wait in lines.
Poster mule.
Yeah.
Yep. Does this sound familiar?
Oh, well, that's Chewy.
Yeah.
Is that like a...
Speaking of only getting things at specific events, you can now buy the mouse droid from Star Wars.
No way!
Only at Disneyland and Disney World.
It's a RC mouse droid. So that sound clip was from when Chewie was being brought. He had handcuffs on him and was brought to detention cells in episode 4.
He didn't really have handcuffs on him.
Yeah. He didn't like having the handcuffs being put on him.
Yeah, he didn't.
Regardless, and he growled at the mouse droid.
Now that's a song. That mouse droid song is something I have always had in my head. Like,
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
For whatever reason, things get stuck, and that's one that's always been there since 1977, and now you can buy it. Why haven't I'm surprised that I haven't made one of those just on my own.
I got to connect you with Mike McMaster, the Wally builder and our droid builder. 'Cause
Yeah.
he has made one.
I bet.
He has made a metal one.
That's awesome.
Machined it with wheels. He had it at Comic-Con, but yeah, he's made a mouse droid. Yeah.
I don't know how much they're going to cost, but that's. What do you think of only being able to buy them in Disney parks? Is that coercive?
No, I think there's plenty of things that they make just for their parks. I'm
You're okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
Sounds kind of Disney.
Yeah.
It does.
It's very in character.
Is it? I mean, because they're not selling as many as they could otherwise.
But they're getting you the parks.
Yeah, I guess so.
They do a lot of their parks that they don't have to enhance experience. And if this is a way of this exclusivity is to enhance experience and get more money out of you,
Yeah.
that feels very Disney. Like Kishore said, I'm going to Disney World.
Hey,
in
you can
January.
also get a Comlink Bluetooth adapter, so you can
Oh.
talk like through the C-3PO Comlink,
Ooh.
make phone calls.
Now, would you rather use that or the Star Trek communicator Bluetooth?
100% the Star Trek communicator.
100%.
I'm going to go with Kishore. on
Yeah,
this
that's available already.
Yeah.
You can buy it from ThinkGeek, I believe.
Who wants to like carry around a thing like this?
Little thimble. Yeah.
Last, final, very short bits with pop culture this week. I did the unfortunate thing of watching both the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles sequel.
Well, that was your own mistake.
That was my own mistake, as well as
You
Independence Day Resurgence.
You watched both of the
I watched.
Turtles?
No. I watched both the sequel, the Ninja Turtles movie sequel, and Independence Day
Oh, I see.
Resurgence.
Okay.
Both those movies, which I thought would do something. Like I thought it would rekindle some fond memory of the original source material. I will say I enjoyed the Ninja Turtles movie more than Independence Day Resurgence. And
Oh, that's good, man. I know somebody who worked on that film, so I'll pass along that compliment.
Is that a compliment?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
they're both terrible, but I think I was disappointed more by the Independence Day movie, the sequel.
So was it just cheesy?
It wasn't cheesy. It was a retread of the original, and also tried to set up too much and brought in. There's one plot element which they bring in that completely comes out of nowhere and makes no sense.
Are you actually avoiding spoilers?
Should I be?
No.
Yeah, aliens come back. We got that.
Well, the aliens come back and we fight. And the concept of, okay, we had 20 years to prepare for them, and even the 20 years of preparation didn't prepare us to fight them. Like, they did the thing where, and I thought it would just be short, but they did the thing where they said, oh, okay, how can we make these aliens even scarier or even worse even when we had then the city-sized spaceships? Well, and this is going to hurt your science brain, Kishore. Instead of however many ships they had come in Independence Day, they had one alien mothership, and it was the size of the Atlantic Ocean.
Sure.
3,000 miles across, and it landed on Earth.
Yeah, of course. That makes sense. Where did it land if
It
it's the
landed
size of the
on
Atlantic Ocean?
The Atlantic Ocean.
That was convenient, actually.
Wow, that's
And
actually kind of a great land bridge.
And-
No, it's
and-
Europe.
And it created landing struts that crushed London and
Sure.
Western Europe and the Eastern Americas.
Okay.
That's
And
great.
so you got your city destruction all in one go with
Mhm.
one event, and you had something, I don't even know how much this would weigh, but way more than the moon, the size of the Atlantic Ocean,
Okay.
land on Earth. And then that wasn't
No
just a
impact
destroyer.
on the Earth.
No,
by the
no
way.
impact. Yeah,
no impact on the
no,
Earth. Just
no.
London
Yeah.
will be gone.
And by the end of the film, I assume it's still there. You can't.
No. By the end of the film, because you can't take on something the size of the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah.
So they had to scale down the fight, and so they had to have the queen alien, because they had a queen, of course, come out in her own little spaceship, and they fought that spaceship.
Uh-huh.
And once the queen was defeated, then the mothership was recalled back.
Oh,
and
it took off.
It
It
took
took
off.
off.
It took off. It just conveniently left.
All right.
And that didn't destroy Earth either. But that's not even the worst plot point.
That's not the worst.
No,
plot point.
no. They brought in a
Wait. Jeff Goldblum must be the worst plot point.
He's just plays Jeff Goldblum. They brought in a good alien entity that was good,
Oh yeah, that's a twist.
A spherical ball that came ahead of the alien invasion that tried to save us.
A
And we-
spherical ball.
Like a Borg sphere. It looked like
Oh, a
And
large ball.
a large ball came through like a wormhole, and it tried to. And then we thought
This
would,
one landed in the Pacific. It's
No.
okay.
No, we captured it
Wow.
off the moon. It was
Oh.
terrible. Has everyone in this room traded in their Galaxy Note 7s?
No, have they made it easier to do that?
They have. Oh, first of all, it's illegal. Was it illegal last week when we talked about it to fly on planes with them? Or was it just the warnings? I think it was just the warnings. Now it is. You can get fined.
It's scaling up.
Yeah, which is it's really bad for Samsung because apparently there have been reports from planes of flight attendants and TSA agents not exactly knowing the difference between the Note 7 and like last generation Notes or just the Galaxy 7s. They've been making it's tough to differentiate, right?
Yeah.
It would be terrible for Apple, of course, if this happened because like you have to differentiate iPhone 7 or iPhone 6.
Yeah.
They would just have to say no iPhones. But this is a very specific ban on the Note 7s.
And people don't want to give up their phone while they're traveling, so they're not necessarily going to volunteer this stuff.
That's right. And that's why there's a fine. That's why if you get caught with the Note 7 in the X-ray, it will be taken away from you.
Even going through security?
Going through security. That's the gate point where they will take it away from you. Wow. So at the security checkpoints, Samsung has set up kiosks, and by kiosks we mean banners and attendants, to let you trade in your phone for credit and a refund right there at airports.
What about all my data? All
I
my
know.
stuff?
You can get $75 refund right now or $125 at the duty free store.
Oh, this
That would
is
be amazing.
This is horrible.
Think of all the Toblerone I could get for my Note 7.
Yeah, at the duty free. That's right.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
I want to hear from people who have the Note 7. What are they doing with
Who's
it?
still-
Are you
who-
trading it in? Are you?
Wait. Who watches this podcast, supposedly a technology podcast, and still has a Note 7 on them? There's no way anyone that listens to this podcast
Yeah,
still
you want to
has
get
their
your
Note 7.
refund. You want to get your voucher, and you want to send that in ASAP. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you see the GTA Note 7 mod? That's
No.
my favorite thing I've seen.
Oh, yes.
It turned the sticky bombs into Note 7s.
Mhm.
Yep. Well, maybe if you trade in your Note 7, you might look into the Google Pixel phone because the reviews are out. Kishore, you have
Yeah,
one on
embargo
order.
listed, Wednesday or Tuesday? The reviews are weird.
They're very divisive.
Yeah.
I think the majority of them are positive, but it's not like a glowing positive. It's not like a world-changing, ecosystem-changing device.
I don't know. I think we might need to call in Nate Silver because the reviews are all over the map. Like Gizmodo hated it.
Yeah.
Wired thought it might be one of the best phones they've ever tried.
Well, where do their opinions differ on the actual
when you start
specs?
to dig into it, I think a lot of the division seems to be around the assistant itself, and this is kind of an interesting place for tested, I think. But it's not about how the assistant functions, but the expectations of how assistant should function. And so, what is your mantra, Norm? Like, we're not testing a product that could be. We're
Don't
testing
test it for what it promises to be. Test it for what it is today. Buy it for what it is today.
So I think that's what you're seeing in a lot of the reviews is like the assistant being the promise of assistant has led to some really positive reviews, and the reality of assistant has led to some negative reviews.
I don't get it. Google Assistant's been around in the form
Of Google now, yeah.
right, for quite a long time. What are they still needing to refine that isn't there yet?
Yeah, I mean, like people cited some really specific cases where they're like, I'm looking for a bar near me, and the restaurant, the assistant not being able to deliver that information in a cogent way. And then in the Wired review, they talk about going to a foreign country with like Project Fi, which is Google's cellular service, and it being massively helpful in a way that other assistants have never matched up. Both like translating, locating things very easily, and delivering consistent service without like swapping in new SIM cards and doing all of that stuff.
Okay. Yeah,
So
and Walt Mossberg, we mentioned that article last week where he compared it to Siri, and
Yeah.
it was hands down better than Siri.
yeah, but I think that's the thing is I think some people expected a lot out of this assistant because Google's work in this has been leaps and bounds better. No one picked up the iPhone 7 and was like, wow, look at Siri. Like, just because it's been a, dumpster fire. So
It's expectations, absolutely. I mean, and going back to the difference between how Siri and Amazon Echo was received and anticipated. We love the Echo because expectations weren't high, and what we expected out of it, it performed very well, and the accuracy was high for that.
But don't you think we also compared it to all the other options available, and it still was better?
In some cases, yes. And that's only because of the omnidirectional mic. And so that performance, that always-on aspect, yes. If we're talking about in the realms of phones and a passive listening for phones, I don't think it's still as good as the dedicated microphone speaker system that Google Home is supposed to be and Echo is now.
But you know what? Going back to the Pixel though, I think the assistant is going to be divisive because of what we've talked about. I think when you dig into like the internals of the phone, people have said like camera's good, might not be as good as the iPhone 7 Plus camera, and it looks like an iPhone. It's fast. People have complained about some of the HDR being a little laggy, but the phone's really fast, so it works fine. I pre-ordered one. I'll get my hands on it. We'll test it out and take a look. I'm going to say I'm optimistic about this phone because I think it looks a lot better than some of the old Nexus phones. It's fast. It's
that phone's
streamlined.
simpler.
Yeah, it's streamlined. Yeah,
it's a streamlined. It's made by HTC. The one thing that from a purchasing decisions perspective, because regardless of how great the phone is and how fast the updates are going to get, how much you're paying for it, it's an expensive phone. And when you look at the last Nexus offerings, the 5X and 6P, you can get those for a little less than this phone and still get very close to what you need out of an Android phone. Not many people need to have, it's going to be worth it for them to pay the extra $150 or whatever it is to have, assistant now as opposed to what it'll be a year from now.
I agree. I can't wait to get my hands on it though, because a phone like this seems well worth taking a really in-depth look at.
Yeah, and it's more about. Part of it is what the product is now, and also part of it is what the product stands for. And if the product stands for Google, Google, like Microsoft, is in this strange place where they have to satisfy the needs of their partners that build their ecosystem and help with their revenue, but also want to have this flagship hardware. And Microsoft, on the Microsoft side, they've had a lot of success with the Surface line and designing their own hardware, controlling, at least their laptops. On the Google side, they haven't had as much success owning the design of their pure Android devices. I think the Nexus has been ebbs and flows. It's been great in some versions of Nexus and not great. And a lot of the early greatness of Nexus was in affordability more than in pure premium performance.
That's the other thing that's divisive is like this is kind of an expensive phone.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be interesting to weigh how much it costs versus the performance, especially compared to some of those other phones, which were more like $400 or $500 as opposed to $700-800 like this one is.
Did any of the phones call it an iPhone killer?
Any of the reviews?
Any of the reviews?
Yes, they did.
Really? Oh, why would you use that phrase?
You're gonna get the VR
that makes
headset,
me
right?
sad.
It came free with a pre-order.
Great. Bring that in, please.
Yeah, I love the trial Daydream.
Yeah, we'll try that out.
Cool.
I'm actually more excited about Google Home than I am about the phone, to be honest. There's nothing like I'm going to sound like Jeremy from all of last year. There's only marginal improvements that we're going to see in the phone. Like, it's going to be slightly faster. The camera's going to be slightly better. These are not things that are going to make a huge difference to my day-to-day usage. Google Home could have a pretty big impact on how I interact with different devices.
Did you see that tweet that Chris Anderson retweeted about how a computer scientist linguist was astounded about how accurate voice recognition is, and that it's basically close to being a solved problem.
What? Really?
What? I
yeah,
also don't agree with this.
Let me.
Well, he's obviously acknowledging the problems that exist today, but he's saying we're closer than you think.
Well, closer than the point of the tweet was that brute force computing
Yeah.
to solve this problem was much more effective than using a theory-based, semantic-based analysis. So linguists apparently, in the 80s, when they were researching voice recognition, they thought that the only way to get voice recognition as you saw it in science fiction, for a computer to recognize perfectly in normal speech what someone was saying, was that the computer first have to understand semantics and break down sentence structure first. You go from understanding to processing.
Yeah. Because then it allows it to self-correct errors.
Exactly. And it turns out that became the harder problem. The understanding is the harder part. And what became solvable, at least to a satisfying degree, was the recognition of sounds just using brute force and raw data.
You lost me there.
And just the computers and algorithms analyzing sounds was able to solve the voice recognition, speech recognition problem.
Okay.
As opposed to going from solving that problem from a semantics perspective.
Okay. But isn't the problem that there's almost infinite variations in the way that we produce the same sounds? You know, like your word sounds different than my word.
Yeah.
And our phonemes have different tones. And
Right. And that problem is largely solved by data.
Okay.
Data and processing, as opposed to having the computer trying to understand the sentences we're trying to say first in order to speech recognize.
Okay.
So the point is that it's one of the reasons why systems like Home and Alexa and Echo and even dictation on iPhone you can do locally now works so well, which feels like magic because it seemed like such a impossible problem. Like, do you remember in the 90s, those voice recognition apps you can buy for your PC? You can buy a microphone. You can say, like, you can give it voice commands to launch certain programs.
Yeah.
And you have to train it, and you only get, like, 3 words.
Yep.
It seemed like an impossible task.
Yes.
And it still sounds like, in my brain, feels like it's something that shouldn't be able to happen today for a computer locally to be able to dictate and type out my speech within reasonable accuracy.
I still feel like we're too far off. It's still frustrating.
The expectations too.
I've never written a text message that's gone through 100%. You know?
Really?
Yeah. Never. And I slur, so I'm not a good case for this. I'm pretty sure like Steve Jobs and Tim Cook, they can send perfect text messages, but I can't, and I'm still waiting for that to happen. That's why when Alexa has understood me, and she usually does, that's why that is such a relief, and I feel like I'm no longer abused by my AI.
I'd be really interested in you trying out some of the Google Voice features, because I think of Norm, if we go through our text history, I don't think I've actually written a text to you in the last month.
Yeah.
I don't text Norm that
But do you
often.
change your speech patterns for dictation?
Yeah, do you enunciate, and do
And
you
do
say,
you-
you must
I
say,
don't enunciate. I'm louder, I think.
and you speak your punctuation.
That's right.
Well, sure. But, I mean, that's just sort of part of it. I don't feel like that's a big deal. But for the most part, it's me talking normally. I don't really change that much outside of volume.
Now, what about your kids?
But you are on Google, and they're better.
Yeah.
So that says something.
I don't know. Let's try it.
Oh, no, Google's speech recognition is miles ahead of Siri.
Okay, Google. Send a text message to Norm.
Oh, everyone's getting this now.
Hey, Norm. Oh. Hey, Norm. How's it going over here? Period.
You need a better use case than that. That's too short. You know the feature that I would. Okay, how'd it go? Did it get it?
No, now it's listening to you.
All right. Did you guys see the new Alexa feature
No,
for music? It's super cool. So you can now say, and I'll avoid saying the name of the device so everyone doesn't get that. But you can say the Amazon Echo, activation word, and then you can say, "Play me the song that goes," and then you say lyrics from any song. So you know,
So it worked?
yeah. And so like I said, what did I say? Like not bad meaning bad, but bad meaning good. And then she replied, Peter Piper by Run DMC. And then she played it.
Can you do the na 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 na? Can you play me the song that
You
goes
can do anything.
na 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 na?
And it will play the most popular result.
But it's only lyrics.
She never confirms anything with you. She never says, do you mean this or this? She just plays the most popular result. But it's awesome.
But Google has been able to do that. I mean, this is just building into Google.
I've never seen anybody do that.
I'm sorry, Google search.
Yes.
In terms of discovering songs, if you
Totally.
everyone's done it.
People's done
Listen
that
to the
for
radio
years. And that's why I've wanted that kind of functionality in my assistants for forever, because I know that it's easily done. But now you can do that with Amazon's device, and I think it's phenomenal. It's the taste of the future. I now want more though. I want to say play the best-selling Weezer album. I want that, or I want to say play the top song from 1986.
I'll be impressed when you can say. Because that's a database thing that's easily solved,
right?
Because they have a database of lyrics. They just gotta match and do percentages.
Yep.
And as long as songs don't remix and don't take and sample, and you're not using that particular track, if you give them every word you give them in context, it increases accuracy by so much.
Yep.
But I want the system that I can tell the TV, play the movie where this guy says that to that person, or play the movie where there's a scene.
Absolutely.
I don't remember the name of the movie, but it's the movie where the aliens attack and Earth blows up.
Yeah.
And then they'll play Independence Day.
I'm telling you, that's what I taste from this, and I want more of it. I love the fact that we're getting ever closer to that Star Trek computer.
That's the goal of Google. So there goes your Amazon Pixel news. There may be some iPhone news, Apple news and Apple products being announced later this month.
Yeah, they're
MacBook.
Yeah. So Microsoft also has an event on the 26th in New York, which the expectation is some type of Surface product. The rumors say maybe not new Surface Pros or Surface Books, but some type of new Surface product. Who knows what that will be? But Apple now has an event scheduled for the day after, October 27th. We're talking about next Thursday.
Wait,
now.
this is actually an announced event?
Isn't it?
Okay.
We don't have any special information. It's just what I've read.
Okay.
But the expectation for that is that it will be finally the new MacBooks, the new MacBook Pros, the whole lineup, a Mac-centric event. Now, the MacBook Pros haven't been redesigned since 2012. So they've been due for redesign. And the rumor sites are still sticking to the rumor that they're going to replace that top-level function row of keys to some type of display, a dynamic display that you can interact with.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. That sounds interesting. But the part that concerns me is they're getting rid of the rumor is they're getting rid of the
USB.
The power connector.
Oh, they're getting rid of the power connector for USB-C?
I guess so.
The other rumor that worries me is that they're getting rid of USB Type A ports.
They can't do that. They just can't. Not on the Pro line.
Are you sure?
They can't.
Thunderbolt.
Why wouldn't they be able to?
Because people use those. These are Pro laptops. People plug in devices to their Pro laptops.
Yeah, how's your headphones doing?
They're plug in, and they plug into to my laptop, and they need to because people go to Starbucks and I'm not attaching an adapter to it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Dude, bad news. Please don't do that, Apple.
Yeah, the rumor is it'll be USB Type-C and Thunderbolt only.
I swear to God. That is a MacBook Air feature. Fine. Don't do that to the Pros.
You think you need at least two USB Type A, USB 3 Type A's?
At least one. I mean, just give me... Yeah.
One isn't enough. I mean, you need something for your mouse at least.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to. I like having my
Buy
HDMI
a
port.
Bluetooth mouse.
Thunderbolts are great, but God, don't get rid of that stuff on the Pros. That's just stupid.
What would be the reason for them to do it aside from wanting to have ports that they control? Thinness?
If somebody's bored. Apparently, no event is confirmed at this time, but they are rumored. You're right, for October 27th.
Well, we'll see. They're
That's soon.
Yeah, I know. They have their earnings, I believe, next Tuesday, and then this event would be potentially next Thursday. Yeah. I mean, the Mac is a big business for them. It's a growing business.
It is. I'm hoping that this is that we see hints at some future development that we want, like Touch ID or Touch. period.
I think we're going to see Touch ID before Touch. Touch ID makes a lot more sense because, not having to take out your credit card when you make a purchase and them wanting to own that, getting rid of the solution that 1Password, for example, takes the place of now, and having it built into the keychain and biometrics.
And now that
sense.
it's in desktop Safari, I think it's a no-brainer.
Yep. But Touch, I don't think I've wanted to see Touch on a MacBook for so long.
Me too.
I don't think it's going to happen.
There's no rumors to indicate it's happening yet, but it's got to happen.
You think so?
It has to happen.
Oh God, it's one of my favorite features of using Windows laptop. It's the thing that prevents me from using a Mac laptop, is not having Touch.
Yep. Like I always say, every person under 10 thinks a Mac is broken.
There you go. That's why you got to buy iPads and iPhones. So the other rumor with these MacBooks that they'll be using AMD chips, but Apple might be patching up its relationship with NVIDIA. They had that following out a couple of years ago. And on the NVIDIA side, we did have 2 new graphics cards announced this week, the 1050 and the 1050 Ti.
This is a lot of tiers in the 10 line.
They've always had, for every generation,
this many?
They've had, and it's all by pricing.
Yeah.
So they've always had, something in the $100 range, $150 range, $200, $250. Every $50 you got to match up, and it's competitive. These are low margin products because AMD has their cards, and AMD kind of owns that the low end. So,
but why not maintain like the old 900 series as the lower tier?
Because of power consumption, you can do a lot more, and it's cheaper. It's cheaper to switch everything over and turn off.
Yeah.
And bin some chips as opposed to doing manufacturing 2 different chips. So the 1050 and the 1050 Ti, I think it's $109 and $140, $140 or $150. They're made for basically 1080p gaming at 60 FPS, which a lot of people, that's still what they game at 1080. Not everyone has 2.7K monitors or 4K monitors. And what they're saying is that the 1050 Ti will meet the min spec for VR.
Yeah, is that because it's been lowered?
And I think it's both.
Because as of Oculus Connect, they've announced asynchronous space warp.
Yep.
Which allows for a 45 hertz signal from the PC.
That's right.
Then upscaled using a new positional.
Which they said was lowered the min spec on the 9 series to 960 as opposed to 970. But I guess this is the equivalent of the 1050 Ti.
All right.
Other news in the PC gaming space, Razer has bought THX.
What does that mean?
THX is now owned, the brand, the
certification. The whole certification company? Like, really?
It's an independent group under the Razer banner.
Weren't they part? They were Lucas originally, right?
Yes, and then it split off. Yeah.
Wow. Razer, the keyboard company?
Razer, the keyboard peripheral laptop company, now
how about that?
Runs THX and probably will use that THX approval on their. It speaks to either one, THX not doing very well and the THX certification, and it's kind of been hurting. It used to be the thing. Go to theater, you get THX certification. It was a big deal.
Sure.
Now it's Dolby everywhere.
Is that right?
It's. I mean, you
Atmos.
Think about the last time you went to a movie theater
and you saw the
THX
cow
logo
turning over the little cane.
Yeah, they were all around you, all the moves.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, well, how hard is it going to be for Razer to get THX certification now?
Probably not very difficult at all.
I imagine it's a phone call.
Well, also the certification that they get under like laptops and stuff are different. It's a different grade of certification.
I see.
And so, but it's a lot of it's branding. I remember it used to be such a big deal when the Klipsch speakers came out on PC, and they had THX certification.
Yeah, I remember that too.
Yeah.
They sounded good.
They sounded fantastic. I mean, you talk about like the big speakers of the PC building era from the early thousands. It was the Cambridge Soundworks, which were the first amazing speakers, and then Klipsch. And now most people use headphones. Do you still use speaker setup at home?
Yeah.
On your computer?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Don't you?
I use it. Mine are creative. Yeah.
I have Cambridge Soundworks speakers.
You have Cambridge Soundworks speakers
that I've had since 2003.
Are they the white ones?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I love those.
They're starting to really fall apart where like the bases on them have cracked and stuff. But like I've had no need to get new ones. When I got to 5.1, that was enough.
You have 5.1 on your PC?
Yeah.
I have
Wow.
5.1 on my PC.
Do you really? You have your speakers, your surrounds hooked up and everything?
I have 2 in the back. Yeah. And-
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys are hardcore.
And the subwoofer is a nice footrest.
I haven't had new speakers for the last 13 years. I guess that's hardcore.
I do wish I don't even have it surrounded my home theater now. I used to be all about that, and now I'm just like whatever's easiest. Just give me the
Soundbar?
Soundbar.
Get you a Vizio soundbar.
But now that
sounds good.
now that I use VR in the living room, I
Yeah.
really want it.
Yeah, like PSVR, if you don't want to put on the headphones, having the surround sound
Yeah.
really helps. Yeah. Anyway, last couple bits of technology news. Your Model 3 pre-orders, they're still apparently on track. If you pre-order today, you
Mhm.
won't get one until at the very earliest mid-2018.
What? No. This has to. What?
Which says to me they're on track.
That's crazy on
Right?
track. Like I thought my pre-order was going to be mid 2018,
Right.
if not late.
This is
2018.
good news to me.
Yeah,
Good ne-
totally. What? There's no way they're going to make this.
Yeah, I don't. Who knows? Maybe they're just setting expectations. It's mid 2018 or later, so technically 2020 is later after mid 2018.
That's right.
So
And they've
who
got to
knows
be
what
up to
actually
close to 500,000 pre-orders by now.
yeah, because they announced 400,000 way back in June. What didn't Elon say there was going to be an announcement this week for some product? He
Oh.
said like something was pushed
Really?
to a Wednesday
I don't know.
announcement. Someone check Elon's Twitter.
Tesla
Yeah,
related?
I'm sure. I don't know.
Okay.
Who knows with that guy?
Yeah.
He's gonna be like, screw Mars. We're going to Saturn. I know Jupiter's next, but whatever. Like he'll come up with something crazy.
Is Jupiter next?
No, Enceladus and Europa are next.
Other products in their third iteration getting announced. Ultimaker also announced the Ultimaker 3. It's a
Okay.
dual extrusion desktop printer, $3,500.
3D printer.
3D printer. Yes,
I think Sean went to the announcement,
he did.
so he'll be back in a couple days.
and we'll chat with him about what's new in the Ultimaker 3. But they said interchangeable nozzles.
Update from Elon: the Tesla announcement, 5:00 Eastern today.
Oh,
When we're recording this,
we're missing. Is he going to try to
it's
compete?
a Tesla announcement.
He's competing with the debate.
No,
Wow,
the debate
that-
doesn't start
that-
till 6.
Ego. I mean,
Oh.
the Tesla announcement's going to be late anyway.
Elon's
They're always late.
if there's someone allowed to have an ego, it's Elon Musk.
I don't think anyone's
I'll-
allowed to
I'll
have that
No.
many ego.
The debate's at 9 Eastern.
Okay.
He has a 4-hour window
Okay.
to
Who
make
knows?
his
It could be a
announcement.
4-hour. No, he can never go on stage for 4 hours. And
As long as he doesn't take Q&A. Did you watch the Mars one?
No.
From, like he was up there for like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
just for Q&A.
I
Wow.
love that he can handle engineering questions. That's one of my favorite things about Elon Musk. You know, Steve Jobs was a master showman. He could sell anything to anybody, but he was not an engineer. I love that Elon does that. By the way, the big thing about the Ultimaker is,
Yeah.
which is interesting, is that why does my voice sound different now? Is that it's the 2 nozzles is all designed from the ground up to do really great water-based dissolvable material.
Soluble, yeah.
So, and it's always been kind of kludgy to get that done on other printers, and that was their thrust for this whole thing. That's what the actual removable nozzles are meant for. Like, there's a nozzle meant for water soluble. So that's interesting because it relieves. You don't have it changes the support material dynamic. So you can now build just about anything with a extrusion printer. I think it's pretty cool. It's just also very expensive.
And then, Kishore, you were talking about your experience using your new Comcast X1.
Oh yeah, so I switched over to Comcast for my cable last month, which has been fine. I have one of those remotes with like the voice recognition, which has actually worked really well. I was kind of surprised because I kind of didn't think it would work very well. But they just added Netflix on as a beta onto my DVR, and now I can use voice search to bring up Netflix as well, and that's actually worked pretty good so far.
You can use it to search Netflix?
Yeah, so I can just basically hold down and be like, search Luke Cage, and it comes up and auto plays once you sign into your Netflix account. I thought it was great. I like that integration with voice because while some of the upgraded like Roku models and Apple TV have that, to have that sort of unified in one box that encompasses a lot of things, I thought it was pretty neat.
I mean, the thing that set-top box makers, whether it's your cable provider or Apple or Roku, want you to not do is switch inputs. Switching inputs is the clunky thing of the living room experience currently.
Yes.
It takes the longest. It gives you that blue screen. Like TVs just aren't made to gracefully switch inputs. And maybe in the future, one day we'll have TVs that have better controllers that can buffer inputs and run it all at the same time and switch between really seamlessly. But I have not encountered a TV that does it gracefully.
I think voice in the living room is going to be a big shift. That's coming with these devices.
Well, that's what your Google device is going to give you, right?
Exactly, because this is the first time. I'm a huge TV watcher. This is the first time I don't know what channel numbers certain channels that I watch all the time are, because I just use voice now.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. Why do I memorize these channel numbers? It's sort of an artifact.
Voice is the great thing about the new Apple TV. I don't know if you've used it, but it's the same kind of thing where you can request artists, actors, anything, and then it'll give you whatever content you have that's in your library.
The problem is that I have the same problems that I have with Siri with that.
Yeah.
That its recognition isn't that great.
All right, and that does it for technology news this week. I wanted to use this time to thank the sponsor of this week's episode of This Is Only a Test, and that's Squarespace. Whether you need a landing page, a beautiful gallery, a professional blog, or an online store, it's all included with your Squarespace website. Using Squarespace, it's really easy to create a website with its simple, intuitive front end. You can add and arrange your content and features with the click of a mouse. Just click and drag. They have beautiful templates designed in their online store with their award-winning templates, customizable settings, and you get it all without using a single plugin. And you get a free custom domain. Squarespace makes adding a domain to your site simple. If you sign up for a year, you'll get a custom domain for free for that year. And you can start your free trial today at squarespace.com. Just use the offer code TEST, T-E-S-T, and you'll get 10% off your first purchase. So please check it out and thank them for sponsoring this week's show.
I'm a pinball nerd. Pin. Just the right point. Finally. That makes me very happy.
That makes me very happy. What was that, Jeremy?
Thanks, Daniel Lind, for the pinball segment intro. So we're not going to have that every week. but once in a while, there's something to report. Big pinball event this past week held in Chicago, home of pinball. Pinball Expo, where there were some major new games announced. Jersey Jack, maker of the Wizard of Oz and the Hobbit pinball machines, which is a very high-tech platform. They have a huge HD LCD monitor in the back, and every LED, every insert is RGB, can be any color. Lots of high-tech, very expensive games traditionally. They announced their third game, and it's the first license-free game, non-licensed game.
Original IP
in probably 16 years in pinball.
Oh, for any pinball.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, by the majors.
Right.
Because Stern has only done licenses. They only do games based on movies and musicians and things like that. And it is called Dialed In, and it's by Pat Lawler, who's a famous pinball designer, did Addams Family, Whirlwind, Funhouse, all these classics. Big deal.
Addams Family, my favorite.
Right. So it's also the best-selling pinball game of all time.
What did they show?
They showed the game. Like, they actually had it done.
Oh, wow.
Which is unlike Jersey Jack. He's always sold the idea, taken people's money, and then gone and built it. They had 5 games at the expo for people to play.
What did it look like?
Very, very colorful. Obviously, it's so refreshing to see original IP. So it's all new artwork and design. And it's very high tech. There's a fake cell phone in the playfield that you engage with. It's like a destruction SimCity theme. And you engage with the cell phone to create acts of destruction, and then I haven't played it obviously, but people who have played it said it's very good. The problem is, we'll mention the problem in a moment, because Stern also announced a new game, Batman 66.
What?
Based on the TV series.
Oh,
nice.
They finally have an LCD in the back glass, so there's a TV back there.
How did that look?
The game?
Yeah, did they show that too?
Yeah. It's all that has some Photoshop elements to it because it's a license, and so they got the characters and they actually look photoreal, but it's very cool. It's got that kapow, bam kind of look, to the classic Batman. It's beautiful. But here's the deal, though. Both of these games, both Dialed In and Batman, cross the new threshold for pricing.
Let me guess, because typically these games are about $3,500 each.
No, like a new Stern, you might be able to get for $5,000.
Oh, $5,000. Okay.
Street.
Street.
Yeah. So
There's like a black market for this.
no. Yeah. Well, yeah. No. Distributors typically sell for less than retail.
Yeah. No, I get it.
So how much do you think these games are?
$7,000.
Right.
I'm gonna go 9.
Okay. So for Batman, they're not even doing a pro version, which is their typical like low tier. They're just doing premium and LEs, and the premium model goes for $8,600. Okay, if you want the LE model, and there's only 240 of those.
And then there's also Super LE.
Yeah, but just the LE is $10,000.
What?
Okay, if you are invited, because it is invite only, to the
like
Super LE tier,
All sold out already.
$15,000
For pinball, for a
freaking
new
pinball
pinball machine.
Right? What?
I'm looking at the art, though. It does look fantastic. It's very colorful.
And by the way, all these games are the same gameplay. It's just decorations are different.
Decorate it yourself.
Oh my God! So Jersey Jack, I want to say like the most expensive Hobbit was maybe I don't even remember now, but like when you went to buy them, I think maybe $7,500.
As the super limited,
Right.
the highest tech.
That was the highest tier one, was about $7,500. Now, the low one is $9,000
oh my god
for dialed in.
Wow.
And if
And that's
you-
unlicensed.
Yeah, right. Like so, there's no fees involved there.
Yeah.
And the more expensive one, which looks better, is like has better armor and like the side art is different. $12,500.
Wow.
I mean, I gotta say, as an operator and pinball owner, this is disappointing stuff. This is not good for pinball. You gotta keep these things under control, people.
Is it because the volume? There's not selling that many. Like,
You
is it
think-
collector's market? Is it because there's more there's more demand?
I have no idea, man. I have no idea. I think it's because there is a collector's market that is paying these prices for rare pinball machines, or at least highly coveted pinball machines.
This feels like
And-
comic books.
And the manufacturers see that happening, and so they know there's money being left on the table somewhere. But the problem is the games that people are paying that amount of money for are limited in number, whereas really these aren't.
So let me give you a question.
Yeah.
Would you rather have 3 of these or a Model S?
Right, exactly.
Or Model 3. Yeah.
Or, Model 3, sorry.
I'm taking the Model 3.
I'm happy to pay my $1.25 and get a couple games out of these and
Exactly, but think
Be happy.
about like if people are paying $12,000, even $9,000 for a pinball machine, they can't put it at $1 play. Like they have to make their money back somehow. Like, it's gonna be a $2 game,
it's not going to be for operators.
right?
I mean, if you're talking about how many plays does a pinball machine get at an arcade typically a day, like, do you know?
I don't know how many plays, but a machine can earn back on a it takes a year to earn back a $5,000 game if you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
And you're in a major metropolis.
So that's about $100, $75 a day.
Yeah.
Or no, $125 a day.
That is like the highest earning game in the arcade, in my experience.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, it's just going to take you years to earn these things back.
Yeah.
Oh, well. That's the news from Pinball World. I need a better name for that segment. Taking suggestions.
The VR Minute. Virtual reality this week.
How about that virtual pinball? Have you played those new?
What's the deal with the virtual pinball? Which one?
Have you played more those new maps or the new tables
Well,
on
they're-
PinSim?
yeah. I mean, there's not new ones this week, is there?
Not this week.
Yeah, I played the new Zen pinball ones. They're
Yeah.
great. There's actually a Zakaria they were the second or third most prolific pinball manufacturer back in the day. They're an Italian company. So that was what was weird. So like most pinball came out of Chicago, but there was this Italian company named Zakaria. They have an app on Steam with every one of their, I don't even know how many games, 30, 40 games that they made. And they're all up there and it's VR compatible.
Oh, is it PimSim?
Of course,
compatible?
yeah. PinSim is compatible. It's super awesome.
Excellent.
I'm really glad to see that.
Now there are some new games out in the VR space this week. Serious Sam
Have you
is
played it?
out. I have not. This is for the Vive.
Yeah, it's motion controllers only. Okay, so Serious Sam, like they thought back when they released the first Serious Sam that shooters had gone too far down the scary, design route, and they just wanted the old school Doom, hundreds of bad guys, or maybe not hundreds, but like swarms of bad guys, rather than just a handful, highly detailed characters. They just wanted swarms of bad guys running at you, and that's what this is. So you're standing in one spot in various environments, and bad guys are running towards you, different types of bad guys, and you start with one weapon or type of weapon, and then you can upgrade. Like, you get this currency, and you can upgrade to all kinds of new fancy weapons.
Are you standing how much movement in that one spot?
None.
Oh.
It's stationary, but you're standing and you're firing in 180 degrees, maybe less than that, maybe 90 degrees in front of you.
Okay.
And I got to tell you, it's fast paced, but once they get too close to you, I got to nope right out of there because it's just too much.
So it's effective then.
Yeah, absolutely. When they cross into my personal space and they're screaming and they have these bombs in their hand, I'm playing on easy mode because I can't let them get that close.
So, I mean...
This looks really intense, looking at the trailer right now.
Yeah, when you describe it as just standing in one place, that to me is a little disappointing because it's a shooting gallery, essentially.
Yep.
But just like, when playing games like Arizona Sunshine, which are essentially shooting galleries, the difference in VR is that you have no private space. There is no barrier between you and the enemy. They get really up close, and it feels visceral when enemies are swarming you. And even when you look around, you almost feel like you lose your mobility in your arms, even though there's nothing actually blocking you.
But I'm not. Yeah, I don't follow what you mean by that. But
I feel like I'm constricted.
Okay.
In movement in those games, even though my arms aren't actually constricted. Because I want to move the model and be able to shoot them.
Right. I am always a little put off by how light the weapons feel because they feel the same weight as a Vive controller, and I have this missile launcher in my hand. But I like the games that restrict that distance. I think Space Pirate Trainer does a great job at this, where they do come close to you, but they don't come into your personal space. That's just a matter of taste, and I don't know if there's I don't know if you can design around that or offer different features but this is the kind of game. What's that scary game where the robots come alive and the things all around you? Raw Data. I can't play that either. Same reason, but some people love this stuff. So there you go. Serious Sam.
This seems too intense.
Too much for me. Serious Sam. It's too serious.
That'll be the new VR rating system, like Jeremy's scale of nope,
yeah, no,
too much.
This would apply. There's also Eagle Flight finally came out today or yesterday.
Yeah, this is Ubisoft's flying game that we saw months and months ago. You're an Eagle. There's multiplayer combat, but it's controller based.
Yeah, so it works on all the platforms. I don't know is it on PSVR?
I don't know yet.
But they were one of the first games to experiment with reducing the field of view when you start.
Blinders.
Right, like they bring a. What's that called?
Vignetting.
Thank you. They bring a vignette in, so it reduces your peripheral vision, and that reduces motion sickness. I think
you're going really quickly.
Right. I think that's really, really, really effective and a very good idea. Yeah, they also give you a little bit of beak to provide kind of a cockpit to reduce motion sickness.
Yeah.
But it's a multiplayer game, and VR needs more multiplayer games. So
yeah, absolutely. You still having dreams about Lone Echo?
Dude, yeah, and they released a multiplayer trailer.
It's 40 seconds long, but it's 40 seconds you watch over and over and over again.
Because I don't know if it's possible to really communicate what the game looks like, and so I'm glad they released that because I'm super excited about that one. Another surprise piece of VR news. I didn't even see this really hit Reddit that hard, but I followed Nolan Bushnell on Twitter. Is Modal VR was announced this past week. Did you follow that at all?
No, what's he doing?
It's a new VR platform, completely brand new. It doesn't leverage any of the existing platforms. Did you follow this? And it's completely wireless. So I don't know. They don't go into explaining the tech at all. But the headsets are wireless, and it uses a base station, which is essentially a computer with antennas on it, and that somehow is server for multiple headsets. And I don't know if that provides the positional data, or if there's something built into the headset. But the headset is like the Vive. Like the Rift prototype that you tried.
Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz, that is positional aware and wireless. It does that. And so their demonstration was to have two players come out to the middle of a football field so there's no obstacles around them. They can put the headset on safely. And then they are pretty far apart, 100 feet apart, maybe 150 feet apart. And they're playing like a disc game in VR. they're throwing things at each other and
A
running
real
around.
disc or a
Well, no, virtual
Virtual
disc.
disc,
Yeah,
got it.
so it's all virtual, and they like cut back to the real footage of just crickets and these guys with headsets running around the field. But then in VR, they're just super action packed, and it's silly. Like they show one of the guys like doing rolls and stuff, like somersaults, and it's all positional aware, and it's really compelling. I mean, if this is actually something they've accomplished right now that they can demonstrate, that's great. Nolan Bushnell, obviously the founder of Atari and Chuck E. Cheese, guy has quite an imagination, and he's behind it along with one chief developer, and it looks pretty cool. But the problem is it's all commercial,
Yeah.
so there's not consumer products at all. They haven't even announced pricing.
Theme parks.
Yes, well, they want to sell to the people who will develop for theme parks.
Yeah.
And if you want to be a developer, you can contact them.
So make the platforms for people like in Utah to build out, laser tag for VR.
Right.
And I think as we get standalone, some type of untethered positional tracking system that works well, reasonably, I think once that tracking is solved, it's going to be less about how good the graphics look and more about what you can do in large-scale virtual spaces with real space analogs.
Yeah.
So warehouses, football fields, and I'm more interested in that type of 4v4 or group activity in a larger space, in shared VR space, even if it's low fidelity, than I am in the super photorealistic immersive single-player VR
100% agree.
VR experience.
100%.
Yeah.
Anything else in virtual reality this week?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Testing this week. Hey, what have you guys been testing?
So last week, Patrick and I reviewed the Lenovo Yoga book. He brought that in. He's been using it for quite a bit. It is,
This is the thing without the keyboard, right?
yeah, it has a haptic keyboard. So it looks like a laptop. It looks like a convertible, like a really thin, lightweight, Atom-based Windows 10 computer. But instead of having physical keys, and it's not like a Surface where it's a type cover or touch cover, it is a glass pad that has light up outlines for the keys that you can use as a keyboard, but also provides vibrating haptic feedback. And a reason that it's a glass pad and they don't have actual physical keys is that pad also works as a Wacom tablet, a digitizer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's made for people who want to do note taking, and the big question is whether you can actually type on it or not. Patrick says yes, not as quickly as you would want, and also the haptic feedback sometimes gets in the way. So it's basically essentially touch typing as you would do on a tablet.
Well, that's the problem is like I have a hard time touch typing on non-tactile keyboards. Right.
Then it probably isn't for you.
Yeah.
And the haptic vibration feedback, because you can get vibration feedback on touch typing on tablets today. If that's not good enough for you, this won't be good enough for you. But the whole Surface works as a digitizer, so if you're an artist, a student, you
Sounds
can
great.
draw and write notes on your tablet, or you can put because the way it works is with the EM field, you can also put like a notepad on top of that glass pad.
Oh,
do
that's
a real
cool.
note drawing, and then have that digitized on the spot.
If I had to use this, I'd probably just use a Bluetooth or USB keyboard, right?
Yeah, you
Just
could
hook
also
it
do that way.
And it would be
Yeah.
like if I were an artist, this would make great sense. And if I needed to
Mhm.
type, I'd have the keyboard.
Yeah. Like I don't know, maybe I don't think they have any plans, but it would defeat the point for them to sell like a Bluetooth keyboard accessory, type keyboard accessory that mounts on top of the glass pad,
Yeah.
because the whole point is that they have the light up keyboards. But I get what you mean. You've been also using a robot, Jeremy.
I have. So it's the Cosmo robot made by, what's that racetrack that was
Anki?
Yeah, thank you. Anki Drive. They revealed that at like a Macworld like years ago. You guys have one. I haven't actually used that. But it's interesting, like that was their first product. It was cars that run around a racetrack and you activate weapons and things with your iPhone. Well, they've evolved their robotics and now they sell an actual robot called the Cosmo. Somehow I was on a diss list and I got an email about it a long time ago and I was compelled to pre-order and I'm glad I did It's not cheap. It's like it's around. It's not $200, but it's close to $200. And you got to say that up front because I think some people just forget about it at that point. But it's awesome amount of robotics. It's a tiny little guy. God, what like he'd fit on an iPhone, smaller than probably, and he's got a little tractor arm. And it's not a crazy number of sensors. He has an actual optical camera on the front and an OLED screen that provides expressions and feedback, and he has an IR sensor underneath, and presumably it's like an IR sensor for the front, and he can tell when his arm is up and down. But the way that they put these sensors to use is pretty awesome. He also ships with 3 little cubes, and he's very expressive. He has a Wall-E kind of sense about him. He can use these cubes in various ways. So he can run up, he can find the cube, position himself to lift it up, go up to it and lift it up. He can stack the cubes, but the coolest thing is he can play games with you. So like, and he learns to recognize you. So if he looks at you and first time you meet him, you tell him your name, he'll then, when he sees you again, he'll look at you and say, "Oh, Jeremy."
What?
Yeah. And you can introduce him to other people. So like you get your friends to look him in the face and then tell him what their name is, and he'll remember them. Next time he sees them, he might say their name. And then you can play games with them. So like you put him in front of a cube, which all have RGB LEDs, by the way, the cubes do, around the top. And so then when he's in front of the cube, he plays various games. The coolest one is this tap game. So we each have a cube, and when the cubes are the same color, the first one to tap the cube wins. The round and then or the game and then you play like 5 games per round, and he gets faster and he improves, and it's interesting. And the more you play with him, the more in-game credits you get, and then you can spend those credits to unlock new games and new tricks.
It's the same computer vision technology that's in PSVR, recognizing lights and faces.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he actually sees the lights on the cube or if he's just Bluetooth connected to them and knows what the lights are.
I hope it's the former.
Is this pure toy, or can you actually do like program it to do stuff?
There's an SDK, so that's my next step. Is I want to download that SDK and see what's possible. Yeah, you're watching the video now. He's very expressive. His sounds are really good, and I think they did a really great job. He's definitely the most complex, advanced robot I've played with.
Can I ask you a quick tangent question?
Yeah.
You remember the last time I remember you bringing up a toy was those 2 race cars that could race each other. What were they called? Like Verve or something?
Yeah, I forget. But yeah, you race them with iOS devices.
Yeah. Do you still like those?
My son plays with them when friends come over. And they're cool. They're like Anki Drive in that you have iPhone controlled cars that have virtual weapons that can shoot at each other, but they're not limited to a track. And so they just race around like RC cars, but if you play the AI, it is environment aware, so it can avoid walls and things like that, and it will shoot at you and you can shoot it, and that it's definitely neat.
I was wondering if they had staying power.
No, they played a lot with them for a week, and now it's once every few months. Yeah, and the problem I hope is that they don't go the microtransaction route with Cosmo, because they have all the makings of it. They have this in-game currency that you spend on these, like I said, games, and it just feels like they're about to nickel and dime you to unlock more stuff. And I hope that doesn't happen, because at $200, no, that should just be something that I do, and it's all embedded.
And you're using it more than your kids?
Oh, they haven't seen it yet. No,
testing it first. As a dad.
Yeah. No.
All right, Kishore, have you been testing anything? I know you've been running your live show.
I'm still playing around with the Amplify. I'd say that's a big thing. I'm still testing. Still working great.
One little bit of technology news that we can talk about is, and you mentioned the NFL earlier, is Bill Belichick down with tablets.
He freaked out on the Surface tablets on the sideline.
Well, he didn't say Surface specifically, but those are the only tablets they're allowed to use.
Yeah, so the NFL has a deal with Microsoft, so they use these Surface tablets on the sideline to like review plays and like have different replays and whatnot.
I remember because the commentators were calling them iPads at first.
Yeah, exactly. And then Microsoft lost their mind and like now it says Surface everywhere, and you can see, and the report was that basically he was having connectivity issues, and he like freaks out and just like trashes one of these tablets on the sidelines. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
I feel like that with the tested internet sometimes, though. That's all right.
He's going back to paper. Printouts.
And stealing other people's signals.
Whoa.
Shade.
And on that note, let's wrap it up this week for this episode of There's Only a Test. Thank you guys for listening. There's so much going on right now. We have our live show coming up. We're building out our set. We're doing a lot of new production that you guys will start being able to see in early November. So please look forward to that. And in the meantime, you can follow Kishore at Science Quiche on Twitter and Jeremy at Jareware on Twitter.
Hey, I released the Wi-Fi adapter for the game frame.
I saw you making the packages for that.
Yeah, so that's up. There's probably like 20 left of the first batch of, I'm calling them beta units. But if you have a game frame, the new one that came out this year, check it out. Go to my website. I'm selling them at cost. They're not that expensive, and there's a lot of new features.
And if you have a game frame, I think it makes a lot of sense
super
to
cool.
have the Wi-Fi. You can tie it to your Echo. And, of course, you can find all of our stuff at Testedcom and at youtube.com/Testedcom. We'll see you next week. And I think we have an outro this week. Yes, Jeremy?
Yeah, I didn't bother with the internet this time. It's actually downloaded.
All right.
It's an
So
old...
we don't have to do a cappella version?
No, this is an oldie but a goodie. You haven't heard it yet.
Hi there, I didn't see you.
Tested.
How about this one? I'm not getting anything.
Because you're muted.
Let's do that again.
Tested.
That was great. See you next week. Bye.